I'm going to start off with a story of my own that shows how busyness and distractions can really put us in a tight spot. um, I was going about my job and going to meetings and making my phone calls and meeting with clients and all this kind of stuff. And at home, they were looking at me weird and repeating things and being annoyed with me. I was, what is wrong with people? I think some of you have heard this story before, but then I was going along and getting to work late because I wasn't hearing my alarm, and I was like, what's wrong with this alarm clock? Maybe I need to go bring it in so they can fix it. But anyway, at work, they were looking at me a little weird, and my supervisor called me in and asked me if I was okay. I was like, yeah, I'm just fine. So I continued with my work and working with the clients, and I had a file. And I went into my coworker's office. She had all the spots where we filed our folders and our clients. And she called me and said, hey, Lisa, psst, come over here. I need to talk to you. And I was like, oh no, what did I do now? So I pulled up a chair, sat down, and I said, hey, Gloria, what's up? She said, I'm really, really worried about you. And I was like, oh, yeah? And she said, yeah, I am. And I said, well, what's going on? And she said, well, the meeting we were in, it was like you were totally distracted. Like you answered inappropriately. It was like you weren't there. And I was like, what do you mean I wasn't there? Of course I was there. She said, no, that's not what I mean. It's just that, our supervisor was explaining something on immigration, and I answered incorrectly based on what she was saying. I was like, I did? She said, yeah, but that's not the only thing. I said, okay, what else? She said, the other day we used to go out to lunch together as a team. So she said, the other day when we went out to lunch, and I said, yes. She said, well, Haiti was calling you, and she called you over and over and over, and you didn't show up at the door. My office was at the top of the stairs, so all I had to do was, walk out my office, and I would have seen them. But she said, Haiti was calling you. You never responded. You never heard us. And Haiti had to go all the way up to your office. Do you remember that? I said, yeah, I remember Haiti came to my office. She looked a little annoyed. But everybody looks annoyed these days. What is wrong with people? She said, nothing's wrong with us. Is what's going on with you that we have a question. And I said, but why? She said, you're not hearing us. We're calling you, we're talking to you, and you're not responding. It's like you were at the copier and I called your name. You didn't respond. You didn't hear me at all. So I'm really worried. I've known you for many years, and this is not you. This is not you. So I'm really asking you, because we're worried, I'm really asking you to go to the audiologist and get yourself checked, just in case. I said, okay, I'll go. So I was like, all right. So, and I kept on going with life and being busy. And I didn't go, and I didn't go to the audiologist. And then I went on an errand, and I was coming back on a busy street, a wide street, and there was another cross street. I was ahead of traffic, so the lights turned red. I stopped with everybody, and then the light turned green, and I went. But then when I was in the middle of the intersection, I realized that no one else did. And I was like, uh-oh, what's going on? So I looked at the light real quick to make sure I was correct. And I looked to my right, everything was okay. I looked to my left, and this large ambulance was coming on top of me. So I took my car and I swerved it to the hardest I could into this garage. It was on the corner. It was a gas station garage. So I just veered in there the hardest I could, and I parked myself. I thought, why did this ambulance not turn on its sirens? Why did it not do that? It almost caused an accident. So I was really upset, and I was sitting there, I was watching the ambulance go down the street, and I rolled down my window, and I couldn't hear any siren whatsoever. And then I was looking at the traffic. I couldn't hear the traffic either. And then I realized I couldn't hear the motor of my car. I couldn't hear it at all. I was like, holy crap. So it was something else. I just realized that my hearing was gone completely. So I just kind of burst out crying. I really did. I was really upset because I realized all at once that I almost caused this accident. This ambulance could have killed me. I could have killed somebody in the ambulance, the driver or the passengers. It was awful, just awful. So once I calmed down, I drove home. I called the audiologist, and I said, look, I can't hear you, but this is what I need. This is what's happened. So if this is my email, if you could send me a date and time, I'll be there. So they did, and they were close to my house, so that's why I picked them from the phone book. And they sent me a date and time, and I went. And so the journey began. Now, this can happen to any one of us if we are in a state of just wrapping ourselves up in busyness. And, oh, it's not a problem, or, you know, I'll get to it at some point. And so that could happen to any one of us, that we're just too busy. We're just too busy. And at some point, you know, I hear fine. I was sitting there right in front of Gloria. I heard the whole conversation. I was fine. What I did not know is I had sudden hearing loss, and it was fluctuating. It would come, it would go, it would come, it would go. So, you know, the doctor did everything she could. She cleaned my ears. She gave me steroids for, I think it was 2 weeks. That was awful. I had nightmares. I had weird dreams. I was just sweating. It was awful. But the people in my house realized that something was going on, and I was trying to catch up to it. And they told me all their stories of how they would call me and I wouldn't answer, and how this happened and I didn't answer, and I was answering incorrectly to other conversations. So I had just accumulated stories of me just checking out. And not so much checking out, but my ears were checking out. And I couldn't respond appropriately to what was going on around me. So, you know, if the ambulance situation hadn't happened, I would not have gotten to the audiologist the following day and started all the treatments and started, you know, using hearing aids and being observed by that clinic. And thank goodness for them, for the doctor, for the audiologist, for everybody in that clinic who gave me a hand. And I feel bad. Today I still feel bad for all the people who were just frustrated about me and wondering what was going on with me and, all this kind of stuff. It was just, so I was feeling weird. They were feeling weird about me. It's just a tangled mess. So if I had gone, I always think, hey, if I had gone sooner, if I had paid attention to people, there's so many questions that I have still from back then. So my question is, with the good, the bad, and the ugly, what stage are you in? I would say the good area is when you care, you stop, you listen to people, telling you something's going on, better check your hearing, I'm repeating a lot to you, all this stuff. So it's really important to caring for yourself, your body, your needs, and especially your hearing, because you need it to communicate at work, at home, wherever you go. And if someone says, you should get your hearing checked, I'm worried about you, that's when you should say, thank you. I will see what I can do, put it on the calendar, and I will go, because putting it off, like I did, for so many weeks, is not a good idea. Things go from good to bad to ugly, very ugly. And mine went to ugly very quickly. And my hearing was just gone, and then it would come back. It was a yo-yo situation. And, but I stayed on top of it. I continued to go to the audiologist. She would see me. She was a saint. She saw me anytime I needed her, because my hearing would be stable for a while, and then it would crash. And that's when she would see me and adjust the hearing aid, and then it would come back up a little bit, but then it would crash again. So it was this instability that I had to live through for 3 years.
Lisa 1, here is your reminder.
Then finally, it just wasn't coming back up again. So she sent me to a specialized clinic at the main hospital nearby, and then they started working with me, observing me, doing a lot of tests. They changed my hearing aids for stronger ones. So it was a long journey. 3 years was a long journey. But that memory of that ambulance coming on top of me is like it's there since yesterday. And I don't wish that for anyone with hearing loss or starting with hearing loss, because it's about your life, it's about safety, it's about communicating, it's about relationships, it's about your work, it's about so many things. Hearing loss can impact so many things. If you keep yourself in the good zone, in which you follow through with audiology appointments, and you use your hearing aids every day, and you use your cochlear implant processors every day, and you stay in that good zone. But when you don't care much about yourself, you forget your hearing aids, you lose them, you're not sure where you put them, you forgot your appointment with the audiologist, so things began to go into the bad zone, and things it's a struggle at work, it's a struggle at home with your family, or even with your doggy, whoever you're relating to, it's hard. And so you slip into that bad zone, and then you end up like me into the ugly zone where I could have caused a death just because I didn't take care of it sooner. So I really want to encourage anyone with hearing loss to really hold yourself in that good zone in which you really try, you care about your ears, you care about your body, you care about your relationships and your job and anything else that's going around you, safety, and you really make that appointment, whether it's with your primary or whatever doctor, and say, I think something's wrong with my hearing. Where should I start? And then you can, from bad, you can go back up to caring, up to the good zone, and begin the journey with the tools, the necessary tools you need to be able to hear, to be able to function. And that gives relief to your brain, to your body, so you don't feel so exhausted, so stressed out with your relationships, and and hopefully not have an emergency like I did. Yes. So from the good, the bad, and the ugly, let's all stay in the good zone. And let's take care of our ears. Let's make sure we do our best to follow up with our appointments, take care of our hearing aids, to take care of our cochlear implant, our processors, to keep it nice and clean, and all those good things in the good zone. And avoid the bad. And I don't know how bad it would get, but then you don't want to slip into the ugly zone. You really don't. Because the ugly is a dark, frustrating, scary place to be. Really is. So this is my invitation with this video, and to consider it. If you are a person who has not yet gone to that appointment with the audiologist, has not yet said anything to your primary care doctor, think about it. The worst thing that could happen is that you start to hear better because they provided hearing aids for you. That's the worst thing that'll happen. So, and you want to avoid the bad and the ugly. All right, folks. I'm glad you found us. I'm glad you were able to listen to this video. Consider it. It's not the worst thing in life, but it is the best thing in life to attend to hearing loss when people start to warn you. So that is my invitation. That is my encouragement for today. All right, folks. I'm glad you found us. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to hear other videos that we have coming up, and I'll see you in the next one.